Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a great day. I'm Brian Schiffman, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the 2021 Annual Mayor's Event. This is a significant time for Vaughan, even during a global pandemic, as we as a community have witnessed a tremendous shift to digitization, a new hybrid work culture, and the need to pivot operations to prioritize health and safety. Through it all, the resiliency and entrepreneurial spirit of Vaughan businesses always shines through. As I've always said, as the city grows, the Vaughan Chamber grows, and as the Vaughan Chamber grows, the city grows. And now I'd revise it slightly to say, as the city remains resilient, so does the Vaughan Chamber and vice versa. This past year has provided us with ample opportunities to work together, to give back, and support our local business community through various campaigns and programs, including the Vaughan Chamber has distributed 25,000 free rapid antigen test kits with our partner Harkel Office Furniture, running a major advertising campaign branded Support Vaughan Local to highlight and drive local spend to local tourism attractions, restaurants, and retail. We're proud to be doing this in partnership with the City of Vaughan's Economic and Cultural Development Department and Tourism Vaughan, and supporting the City of Vaughan with the launch of Small Business Week coming up the week of October 18th. At the Chamber, we've been extremely active advocating for our business community with all levels of government, and I want to personally thank our membership. Membership has been extremely strong throughout COVID, and testament to that is the 400 people we have in attendance today. We're looking forward to all the great things we can do together in the coming years, and thank you for joining us today. Of course, the main attraction here is the Mayor of Vaughan, the Honorable Maurizio Bevilacqua. He's going to be introduced shortly, and I'm looking forward to our fireside chat and hearing submitted questions from our membership. I always appreciate the Mayor's purpose-driven leadership, the sincerity of his remarks, and his commitment to our business community and to the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce. Now I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors. Presenting sponsor, Fazari & Partners, LLP. Platinum sponsor, CN. Gold sponsors, Armland Group, Deloitte, Forest Contractors Limited, Leuna Local 183, Plaza Corp Investments, Inc., Scotia Wealth Management, Smart Centers, TAC Developments, Inc., TD Commercial Banking, York University, and our silver sponsors, Electra, Cortel Group, City of Vaughan Economic and Cultural Development, Durock All Facing International Limited, Eagles Nest Golf Club, Minkin Employment Lawyers, Palais Vallo LLP, R Ferry Automotive, RBC, Skylar Media, TC Energy, and YMCA of Greater Toronto. At home or at your work, please give them all a round of applause. We really appreciate our sponsors. Thank you all. Now I'd like to acknowledge Vaughan Chamber of Commerce board members in attendance here today. Jeremy Neal, Vaughan Chamber of Commerce Board Chair and President of Kendallin Management Corp. Louis Ciceretto, Vaughan Chamber Treasurer and Partner, BDO. Joe Pampina, Vaughan Chamber Executive Committee Member and Principal C4C Coaching for Change. Belinda Rossi, Partner, Miller Thompson LLP. Caroline Gregg, Associate Director, External Relations and Public Affairs at Seneca College. Mohammed Mahdi, Medical Director, Alexion Pharmaceuticals. Howard Clear, Owner, Harkel Office Furniture. And Peter Sandica, Owner, Sterile Infection Control. And Tina DeVito, Partner, M&P. And now I'd like to introduce Frank Fazari, the Managing Partner from our presenting sponsor, Fazari & Partners, an accounting firm located in Vaughan that's been in business for over 30 years and has won numerous awards for their outstanding work. Frank has personally been awarded FCPA and FCA Fellowship, the highest designation awarded in recognition of outstanding career achievements and leadership contributions to the community and the profession. Over his career of more than 3 decades, Frank has served many types of businesses, from startups to businesses with revenue over $1 billion, including manufacturers, charities, pharmaceuticals, publishers, unions, investment managers, and service industries. Frank cares deeply about the Vaughan Chamber, and we appreciate his friendship. He is a true advocate for Vaughan. Look no further than his recent recognition as an Order of Vaughan recipient, the highest civic honor in Vaughan, for evidence of his continuous contribution to our community. Over to you, Frank.
Brian, thanks for that introduction. Brian, I also want to thank you for becoming such a strategic partner of ours. Our business and all the businesses in Vaughan rely on you. You operate a Vaughan Chamber of Commerce like no other Vaughan Chamber of Commerce in the province of Ontario, in the country of Canada. Thank you. To everyone in attendance today, thank you very much for participating in this virtual Mayor's Luncheon. On February 24th, 2020, over 18 months ago, we had a live in-person Mayor's Luncheon with a huge number of people in attendance. There was so much energy in the room. You can feel the energy. And here we are now with a virtual event. So how things have changed. During my introduction of the mayor, I listed off a whole bunch of his accomplishments, some of which I want to rhyme off today. He's been in politics for over 30 years. He's won 11 elections, federal and municipal. He broke both federal and municipal election records. He's chair of York Region Finance Committee, York Region Police Services Board, Smart City Task Force, Ready Resilient Resource Committee, Hospitals Precinct Advisory Board, and co-chair of the RENA Foundation's Lou Fruitman Capital Campaign. Also, he chaired the very successful $250 million Mackenzie Health Ultimate Challenge Capital Campaign. Also, he chaired the very successful Hospice Vaughan Capital Campaign. And the list goes on. Our mayor has worked tirelessly. Who would have thought 18 months ago he would have faced one of the biggest challenges ever faced by mankind, the pandemic, COVID-19. There was no script, no playbook, nothing to fall back on. So what did our mayor do? He fell back on his foundation, intelligence, and instincts. Here's some of what he did. On March 17, 2020, shortly after the WHO declared a global pandemic, our mayor declared the city in a state of emergency. He reacted very quickly to get us ready. On March 19, 2020, he gave support to taxpayers by waiving late penalty interest on property taxes. It's one of many examples that he's done to help our citizens. He swiftly implemented alternative workplace arrangements. Hundreds of staff were working from home all of a sudden. Never happened before. And I think one of the proudest moments is when the province of Ontario asked us to get the hospital ready to help with the pandemic situation in Ontario. The mayor worked tirelessly to open Mackenzie Health Vaughan much earlier than anticipated. Throughout, he has communicated, and acted. All the city remained alert and ready. The city remained steadfast also in delivering the service excellence while working at home and all the other challenges that they faced. He didn't do this alone. I know he didn't do this alone. But you know what? He led. He led like a true leader, and he led during a crisis situation like you would expect our mayor to. He did a great job. In September 2021, the city of Vaughan won the coveted 2021 Richard Goodman Pandemic Special Edition Award in the local government organization category in recognition of this work. So for all this, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of all of us in attendance, on behalf of us citizens of Vaughan, thank you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we have our mayor, my friend, the Honorable Maurizio Bevilacqua, speak, please watch this video.
Well, first of all, that's an excellent video and an excellent summary of so many things happening in the city of Vaughan, pandemic or not. And based on watching that video, it's clear the city has been very busy moving forward its priorities for its citizens and businesses. There were a lot of notable accomplishments highlighted there. And Mr. Mayor, I think it'd be great for our viewers if you could describe what we just saw and its significance. And also, I want to thank you again for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to a great chat.
Before I comment on the video, I would like to express my gratitude to Frank Massari for a very generous introduction and for the great work that he does in many areas, including education with Niagara University and many other community activities that he has championed. I want to also, of course, thank you for your leadership, the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce and your members. I think that during this COVID-19 crisis, you have played an integral role. Your organization has been a very dynamic organization, and we've worked extremely well together to bring about positive change to people's lives. There was a lot in that video, as you correctly pointed out, and a lot to absorb. But I do want to give context to it. And if you noticed on the last slide, we end with a headline from City Life that basically says that we are a city that has come of age. And that is precisely what has transpired over the past decade here in the city of Vaughan. You know, as I was reflecting on this gathering that we are participating together, and I reflected upon the journey, and it's been a very interesting journey. And I know the viewers, who I know are very active in our community, have seen this incredible transformation of this city coming of age. In 2010, when I was elected mayor, was no subway here in the city of Vaughan, no Vaughan Metropolitan Center with actual buildings on it. We didn't have a university, Niagara University. We didn't have a 900-acre park that is bigger than New York City's Central Park. The city has transformed itself in a manner that speaks to our desire to build something that is extremely important in the greater Toronto area and in our country. You know, we had 60,000 fewer jobs in 2010. And the transformation that we have seen in economic terms, you know, at a growth rate of over 4% pre-COVID, tells you that this community has truly come of age. It is a community that understands the important role it plays within its own boundaries, but also beyond our boundaries. And Ontario is obviously taking note of us. You know, as I reflected upon 2010, you know, I need not remind people that we didn't have a hospital. And that journey was also a very interesting journey to finally build a world-class hospital. And in this case, Brian, what I want to tell you is that what's very important in public life and in city building is that, first of all, you've got to love it, because if city building is a labor of love. It is our ability to really make it a priority. Cities such as Vaughan cannot be built if you're not all in. You need to be all in. You need to appreciate that people are counting on you and working with you in partnership to really build something that is truly world-class. And this work is 24/7. I dedicate essentially my entire life to my role as mayor because I think that in building a city, there are no shortcuts. You've got to work hard. You have to have clarity of vision. You need to understand exactly what you want and what the residents of the city want. And I've been very fortunate over the past 30 years being elected 11 times, representing the citizens of Vaughan. And I've been very fortunate because
my values and the values of the citizens of Vaughan are very much in sync. We believe in, a great quality of life, a standard of living. We believe in expanding opportunities. And the video really encapsulates all that. I mean, if every frame that you saw spoke to city building at the very core, it spoke to how people come together, how people share in their blessings. It also shows that we have mastered the often cited sentence that I use. It's that, ultimately it's all about building a purpose-driven city. And our purpose is clear, and we continue to demonstrate day in and day out that we are serious about what we're doing. That video, and I hope people will watch it again and watch it again, and I hope they also take ownership of that, because people that are joining us, there were 400 people who have signed up to attend this virtual event. I hope that they see their fingerprints in city building. I hope they see their fingerprints in the video. And as they view each frame and each slide, I hope they also feel proud of their contribution, because as Frank correctly pointed out in his introduction, one of the keys to our success as a city has been effective partnerships, and that will continue, I hope, for many decades and centuries to come. And I want to also, right off the start of this interview with you, this chat that we're having today, I want to make an announcement that even as COVID-19 persists, city building continues. We need to continue to achieve in this city. And so today, I am delighted to announce that LGC, a leading global life science tools company, has chosen to locate its Toronto Research Chemicals subsidiary in the city of Vaughan. Construction work has recently commenced on a new facility of over 200,000 square feet, which will bring over 400 highly skilled, highly paid jobs to the area when it opens in 2024. I've been working on this in cooperation with the Zen Group, Joseph Scroll and Vic Dezan, to make sure that this project would become a reality. And LGC is a UK headquartered company which was founded in 1842. It provides mission critical components and solutions for pharmaceutical, clinical diagnostics, food and environmental markets. LGC's vision is science for a safer world, and its products play a key role in enabling science, helping its customers to bring new therapies and diagnostics to market, progress research and development, and continuously monitor and enhance the quality of food, the environment, and consumer products. LGC new facility in Vaughan will serve as its global center of excellence for synthetic chemistry. The complex biochemicals produced at this facility will enable scientific research, development, and commercialization around the world, whilst also providing a valuable amenity for scientists here in Canada. LGC President and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. O'Sullivan, commented on this yesterday, and he basically said that he's very, very happy with the city of Vaughan. It was a wise choice for his company to come to a world-class city like ours, and I am very grateful that his company believed in our city. This is a global company in the life sciences, which will open up all sorts of other opportunities for the city of Vaughan. This can, in fact, create a cluster in a brand new area in the city of Vaughan that will speak to essentially an innovation-based approach towards growth in the economy. It is these types of days and these types of announcements that we certainly welcome, and I know the participants of this event also welcome, because this is the type of announcement that speaks to high-valued, high-paying jobs, highly skilled jobs, and this is the route to go in the global economy.
Well, first of all, that's a very exciting announcement. I have to give you credit. You've done a great job over the years at the mayor's events of always coming in with some big announcement, big splash for the city, and you did it again. 400 jobs of that quality are excellent for the community, and the Chamber Network has been very active calling for innovation and doubling down on that kind of industrial and scientific growth. So I think it's very exciting for Vaughan, and thank you for announcing it here. I hope that LGC is watching this also, because you gave them a great promotion, and we'll look forward to having them as chamber members. Now, I wanted to just recite back to you a couple of quotes that I heard you say, because this next question is really about leadership. You said you need to be all in as a public servant. You talked about building a purpose-driven city. You noticed in my intro, I talked about how you always have purpose-driven leadership. I think you should be credited for that. And in building a city, there are no shortcuts. So in that context, from a leadership perspective, how does one get ready to face a global pandemic, right? Because you can't really. And how have you personally dealt with COVID-19?
Well, that's a very important question that you ask. I think it's during times like this, like a global pandemic, that your character is really tested. This is a very challenging time for any leader, whether you're prime minister, whether you're premier, whether you're heading up an organization, whether you're a mayor or regional chair. These are times where everything that you learned throughout your life comes together. And so the time you invest in education, the time you invest in building relationships, the time you invest in understanding your community, the time you invest in talking to people, respecting the professionalism of our healthcare experts, all this comes together into one. And this is not the first crisis I've had to deal with. You probably remember September 11th. I was chair of the Finance Committee in Ottawa. You probably remember that for 5 years I held that post at the national level, made recommendations to the Minister of Finance, the majority of which were accepted and incorporated in the federal budgets of the day. We also remember during that time, the economy was not doing well at all. The Wall Street Journal referred to Canada as an economic basket case. September 11th, I was traveling the country seeking input. And when that event, the tragic event, happened, we had to pivot. We had to pivot and present a national security budget. That was not the early design of the budget, but because of this externality that occurred, this tragic externality that occurred, I had to make recommendations that spoke to national security, because that became the key issue. And it became actually the national security budget. The reason why I say this is because the more experience you have, the more time you take to educate yourself on issues, the more decisions you make in life, the readier you are for events such as the global pandemic. But you have to have clarity of purpose. You have to have clarity of your values, of your principles, of your beliefs, what you stand for, who you are as a person, because people are going to depend upon you. And when people depend upon you,
they want to make sure that you are ready for the challenge ahead. And I felt that at my age, I also had the experiences that were very much part of who I am, who have shaped me as an individual. And that experience really helped me. And so when you look at the various measures that I personally took during COVID-19, for example, the first city in the province of Ontario to declare a state of emergency. Why did I do that? I did that because I wanted to communicate to the citizens of Vaughan that this pandemic was serious. I think it was the responsible thing. It comes a point in the history of our city where you can't sugarcoat reality. You need to tell people exactly how things are. And I'm very fortunate to represent a group of citizens who are very realistic, who clearly received, absorbed, and processed the message that I was sending. And that is that these are not going to be ordinary times. I remember some comments that people were making about the fact that I had closed, libraries and our city hall and our community centers, and that perhaps these measures were harsh measures, but as history has taught us, those were precisely the measures that had to be implemented. I also tracked during this period of time international events to see a pattern of what was going on with COVID-19. And so, Brian, you probably remember in the numerous media interviews that I had during this period of time that I would be talking about, wave number 2 and the third wave and the fourth wave before it actually happened. And that had to do with the research that I was doing. And so you have to be prepared. You have to do your research. You have to rely on the advice of people like Dr. Kurji, because there's very little room to make a mistake. And whenever mistakes were made during this pandemic, there were consequences. There's also a role that a leader plays during this time is to make sure that people are indeed following advice, that people are informed, and that you need to communicate, and repeat. Even to this day, we are talking about making sure that you wash your hands, make sure that you're observing physical distancing and social distancing, that you respect the rules and regulations associated to COVID-19. For me, I can tell you that I felt ready to tackle this challenge. But the only reason why that happened is because I've had many experiences throughout my life in public life where the country had been challenged in various ways, whether it was from a national security issue to the economic downturns of the day. You probably remember back then, as I stated earlier about the Wall Street Journal, you had this newspaper telling us we were the economic basket case, and then a few years later, after we implemented a plan for economic recovery, newspapers globally were calling us the top dog of the G7, and those experiences are very helpful, and that is why I felt ready, and that is the reason why I was able to act swiftly on a number of issues. And make no mistake about it, you don't do it on your own. You rely on the community. You rely on your administration. You rely on your colleagues to do their part to make sure that we could, in fact, go through COVID-19 in a way that spoke to leadership that was ready for that particular global pandemic. And to make sure also that you're there for the small business community, for individual residents of Vaughan who were experiencing anxiety, people who were losing their jobs were being laid off. I mean, there was a lot of pain associated with COVID-19, and we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, we just celebrated Thanksgiving, as you know, with a great deal of gratitude. But, you know, I'm looking for the numbers after Thanksgiving. You know, I hope that we were all very respectful of the rules and regulations associated with our behavior for COVID-19. So clarity of purpose, knowing what you want. I always tell people, look, at the end of the day, success in life, there's one major predictor, and that is knowing what you want, having clarity. That is key, and it was really key for me. And reaching out to people, making sure that they understood that I was there for them, that our government was there for them. Maintaining also, Brian, this was very important, close ties with our senior levels of government. And on a number of occasions, I spoke to the Prime Minister and Premier about COVID-19. Our GTA mayors and regional chairs worked very well together, and we continue to have constant communication and meetings to find out, you know, what the best practices are in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. And I can tell you that Vaughan's presence has been felt during those meetings, and people accept the fact, as the Toronto Star stated in an article early on the pandemic, that when it came to dealing with COVID-19, Vaughan was leading the way.
We're well over a year and a half into the pandemic, and we talked about the city's quick movement to adapt to the pandemic, to COVID. So what we saw is all sectors of the economy, there was lots of disruption. The disruption also affected city services and city operations, and City Council quickly moved to ensure continuity of its services. So Mr. Mayor, do you envision some of these measures continuing in a post-COVID landscape? And what is the plan to ensure we have a strong recovery in Vaughan in the long term?
Well, I'm very confident that we will have a strong recovery in Vaughan. The G7, the OECD are calling for Canada to grow at a rate of 6.5. If that is indeed the case, and these organizations are correct, then I can tell you that our growth will exceed 6.5. You and I often speak about this, Brian, that we've outpaced economic growth both in the province and nationally for the past 10 years. And this will continue. Of course, this is going to provide us with other challenges, and other challenges including, for example, making sure that we have the labor force ready to really fill all these new jobs that will be created in the coming years as we grow at over 6.5%. You probably know that our growth was around 4.3 prior to COVID. You also know, as well as our viewers know, that we have a city. We have here a city that, in fact, has created over 235,000 jobs, which is right up there with the national and leaders, and indeed North American leaders. Will the workplace change? Absolutely. You know, you probably remember the last mayor's luncheon. I spoke about the fact that a big bang may occur in our society that will change the way we actually live, work, play, grow, run our businesses, and this is exactly what COVID-19 has done. So, for example, in the city of Vaughan, you will probably see that we will have alternative work arrangements where more people can, if they choose to, work from home. We have found that the productivity rate in our city is very high, that we've been able to maintain it and improve it in certain areas. And I think that speaks to our ability to pivot. You know, we made sure also during this time that, you know, while we spoke about and the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce was very active in helping us create these programs, whether you're talking about digital boost, whether you're talking about shop Vaughan local, recommendations about the suspension of the municipal accommodation tax. We hear these messages, and the changes, I think, will be changes that that will be implemented long term, because people have now grown accustomed to working differently. We have virtual and digital services now that we didn't have before. We have portals that we've developed to make sure that we are using technology to our advantage. And this is something that we will continue to do, because through COVID-19, we were tested, and in many ways we were experimenting, and it turned out to be a very positive experience. And also, one of the things that has been very important for us, and I include also listening to the chamber in this one, was the decision we made to have 0% tax increase, which I think that this is very much in keeping with how we dealt with taxation in the past, which was rewarding individuals, and also making sure that our tax system was competitive, and I think that this is something that we will continue as a tradition that we've had over the past since 2010, that we would not have tax increases above 3%. We're down to 0, and we're going to keep taxes as low as possible. And what brought us there on the 0 tax increase was, of course, we had to make sure that we had enough revenue, but our relationship also with other governments made me as mayor realize that this is a time where people need help. And so the 0% tax increase was yet another example of how we're going to be looking at budgeting in the future, because the dynamics of the workplace, the dynamics of the market have changed quite dramatically.
All right, so now we're going to go to a submitted question from our audience. This person, it's Brian Walker. He's a member of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce Government Relations Committee, an active member of the Chamber. We know him well. And he's also the past president of OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association. So let's go to that question.
We often hear about the drastic shortage of rental accommodations. What efforts is the city making to encourage purpose-built rental housing?
Brian, that was, first of all, thank you so much for your question. It was a very important question, particularly as our city transforms itself. The demographics are changing. There's also a real need for rental housing. And to illustrate our commitment, we actually supported an MZO in the Vaughan Metropolitan Center, precisely for the type of housing that you are talking about. And the building is being built, and the number of units are high. And we will continue to move in this direction, because we recognize, as you do, the important role that rental housing does play in city building. This is not the city of the year 2000. This city is dramatically changed. The demographic changes, and also the manner in which people are now accessing housing is changing. And what you're proposing in your question, I think, speaks to your realization that there must be more rental housing units available. And Brian, as you know, cooperation between both levels of government, by that I mean the two-tier, meaning the region and our city, is very important, because in the housing file, York Region plays an important role. And as a member of York Region, we will use all the tools available to promote rental housing. because it plays a major role in city building. As a matter of fact, I sit on a task force that is precisely looking at this issue, and there will be some announcements forthcoming within the next few months. So I thank you for that question.
All right, so next we're going to go to another submitted question. It's actually quite related to Brian Walker's question, but takes a different angle on housing. And this one is from Stefano Fazzari. So this is actually Frank Fazzari. Frank Fazzari, our key sponsor. It's his son. So Frank, you should be very proud because there's not a lot of business students of that age that would be brave enough to send a question in. So we appreciate it. I understand Stefano is a business student at Laurier University. Let's play that video.
Hi, my name is Stefano Fazzari, son of Frank Fazzari. I'm currently a third-year business student at Wilfrid Laurier University, and my question to the mayor is, how do you work towards building a more affordable housing market for the future generations and students alike?
Stefano, thank you so much for participating. I like when I see young people participating because at the end of the day, we're building this city also for the future, and you will become one of the leaders here in the city of Vaughan that people are going to count on. And the fact that you're asking a question about affordability of housing speaks a great deal about your values. To me, this is a key issue. You've probably known I've been advocating for affordable housing options and diverse, I should say, housing options for our city for a number of years. That is the reason why, for example, I supported MZOs, ministerial zoning orders, that would speed up the process of building these homes. I was also successful in negotiating with a number of developers that 10% of the units that they would build would be dedicated to below market prices, which means 30% below market, to open up greater opportunities for people like yourself and others who want to live in our city, because this is the place where you were born, the place where you want to grow your business, where you want to grow your families, where you really want to experience life. Now, obviously, there are always the naysayers about MZOs, but those are people usually that have homes and are already well taken care of. I like to speak about the challenges that young people face, first-time home buyers, and that is the reason why I supported the ministerial zoning orders that can generate thousands of units that would be more affordable, and because they would be around 30% below market value. And that is what we need to do. At the local level, we don't have many tools at our disposal, but I do support a creative approach towards affordable housing, and that is the reason why I supported those initiatives. Because one of the things that you will learn about affordable housing and or what I refer diverse housing options is if the senior levels of government are not fully engaged, it's very difficult to build affordable housing. But I think the plan that I presented and the plan that I believe in is a plan that basically speaks about home ownership and affordability. And this is one example. I mean, I go back to the days when I pushed for, secondary suites to make sure that they were legalized. And that opened up some housing options for people who could not get into the market. So when you're building a city that is growing as fast as ours, of course, housing is key. And it's a big, big part of our city building initiative. I want to thank you so much for your question, and in many ways for standing up for your generation.
I want to comment on that. The secondary suites movement by the city was well received, and obviously we've got a generation of people that want to live in Vaughan, so this is a great thing, and you've got some great employers here and others coming in, like you mentioned, LGC. So I'm pleased that the city's doing what it can to try and enable the next generation to live in the community that they love. The next question we have is really about your personal opinion, what you see as the key driver for economic growth for the city of Vaughan over the next 5 or 10 years.
Well, I think the key drivers are going to be manufacturing, I think construction and housing, But this is one of the areas that we often don't speak about, but that I'm betting on quite a bit, and that is healthcare. With a world-class hospital like the Bertolucci Vaughan Hospital, with the announcement that I made today, Brian, it's pretty evident that you begin to see where I'm heading. I'm trying to create an infrastructure that starts talking about life sciences, that talks about healthcare, that promotes innovation in that area. And that is the reason why, as chair of the Hospital Precinct Advisory Board, one of the things that I am promoting is that parcel of land, 82 acres of land, be used precisely to bring in innovation-based avant-garde industries that can, in fact, generate high-paying jobs, which are high-value jobs, because the economy, you need to build economic sustainability, and you do that when you develop niche markets that other areas in the country are not focusing on. We obviously have the advantage to have a very vibrant economy. We have many advantages also when it comes to our human resources. I mean, over 70% of the residents of Vaughan have university and/or college education. That's way above the provincial average and way above the national average. You also know that I often speak about the Vaughan advantage, CPCN intermodal, proximity to an international airport, an effective and seamless transit system, major economic development in the area of transit, the bus rapid ways, the two subways that we're going to have in a decade or so, and all these infrastructure and advantages that we have now, also university and great and effective partnerships with people like Venture Lab and York University and organizations such as yours, the Chamber of Commerce and Mackenzie Health. This all adds to a very bright future for our city. We cited earlier the number of jobs have been created since 2010, 60,000 jobs, economic growth at over 4%. If we continue with, if I should say, the G7 and the OECD is correct, we'll be growing at anywhere between 7.5 to 8%. I mean, this is a city where opportunities are abundant, and this is what, at the end of the day, you want to do. You want to create and expand opportunities for people, and that is the reason why the announcement today speaks to the fact that if we work hard, if we're out there selling our city, promoting our city, making sure that people know that we exist, and market our city well, you will get beautiful days like today. And they will repeat themselves. And I'm very active. I'm very hands-on on promoting my city, because I think it's a crowded field out there. Everybody's competing, and we need to do our part to make sure that the Vaughan advantage is well known, and that we can in fact attract the type of industries and companies that we have been able to attract thus far. But I'm always redoubling my efforts, because I do believe that in cooperation with everyone in the city, we have a great story to tell. And the story is not simply rely on manufacturing or relying on housing and construction. You always have to diversify, because when you diversify, you're not only diversifying and obtaining benefits, but you're also reducing the risk. And that to me is fundamental in building an economy, the type of economy that I think we all want to build. And that is an economy that produces high value added jobs that are high paying and, quite frankly, also interesting.
Actually, that answers a great lead into our next question. That comes from our board chair of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, Jeremy Neal. He's also the president of Canvillin Management. And let's go to the question and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Neal, the president of Canvillin Management Corp. And the new chair of the board of directors of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce. First, I'd like to congratulate Brian, Jen, and the team at the VCC, as well as the mayor and his staff at the City of Vaughan for putting together such an amazing event. My question is, since it's clear that Vaughan is a fast-growing multicultural city with a great deal to offer any foreign companies looking to establish a physical presence in Canada, what can we do together to encourage more foreign direct investment?
Jeremy, thank you so much for your question. And I think you probably recognize that today's announcement is really about FDI. It's about the ability to draw people to come to the city of Vaughan and draw companies to come to this great city to invest in an area of Canada that is vibrant and dynamic, that has great numbers and also great advantage. I think one of my roles as mayor has always been to promote the Vaughan advantage, to speak about those advantages, because we do live in a very competitive global market. I do want to tell you that the response I receive from companies that have their major headquarters in foreign countries is very positive. But I want for people to understand, though, that it's very important for all of us in the business community to really promote our city. There are many linkages. There are thousands upon thousands of businesses here in the city of Vaughan that essentially have international contacts. And I would like all of you to become also ambassadors for the city. I mean, I do my part to attract foreign direct investment into our city. But I do think that if we collectively work together and utilize the various channels of information that we have and inform people, I think this is something that we can truly cooperate on. Everybody here in the city of Vaughan, that works in the city of Vaughan, that has a company in the city of Vaughan, that experiences life in the city of Vaughan, can feel very confident about promoting it as a viable option for most companies internationally and in most industries, because this is a very diverse economy that we have here in our city. And I do believe that foreign direct investment, a big part of it, people that invest from abroad, they look at numbers. And so whether they're looking at the labor force pool, whether they're looking at taxation, whether they're looking at labor flexibility, whether they're looking at the strategic geographical location, and infrastructure like universities, like proximity to educational institutions, the level of educational attainment, all these issues that inform them, I can tell you that they really can't go wrong with the city of Vaughan. And that is quite frankly why today I announced 400 new jobs by 2024 here in the city of Vaughan in the life sciences area, because the CEO and his team recognize that indeed our city provides value added to their corporations.
Well, I can tell you at the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, we're all anxiously awaiting a day where the pandemic has passed and we can do some work on FDI by doing another trade mission with you and with Frank Vazzari and others. Now I'm going to go to our next question. We got a great submission from Crystal Van Westerop. She's the vice chair of our Women's Leadership Committee at the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, and she's also the national manager for Women in Enterprise at TD Commercial Bank. Let's go to that video.
Hi everyone, my name is Crystal Van Westrop, Vice Chair of the Women's Committee with the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce and National Manager, Women in Enterprise at TD. It is well understood that women entrepreneurs have been more disproportionately affected by COVID-19, in part due to operating in harder hit areas like service, retail, and personal care businesses, for instance. Women are strong and resilient, and so while we may see many of these businesses pushing through, the long-term effects on the balance sheet and the cash flow are real. What are you doing to advocate for the additional support, grants, or access to financing for women to withstand these lasting impacts, but also to come out more nimble, to be able to scale up and prepare for the future?
Crystal, first of all, thank you so much for the question, and thank you for the great work you're doing with the Chamber of Commerce and indeed professionally. You touch upon a very important issue, and you are correct in your assessment that, in fact, women have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. This is an issue that I've raised at the senior levels of government, the federal and as well as provincial, because these issues require the type of support that makes women go through COVID-19 in a manner that they will begin to feel the support that is required, and to also receive, I should say, the support that is required. The senior levels of government, of course, play a very important role, and we also do our part. I mean, we deal with women entrepreneurs through our economic development department. We do the very best to provide help and to also navigate through the various government programs that help. Another example where we cooperate is with York University. They have the ELA program, which is an accelerator program, and we are very active with them in making sure that opportunities for women are not only created but also expanded. And in a society where there are inequities, in a society where a group of individuals are adversely affected by a crisis, it is the responsibility of governments to do their part. And there have been some announcements, both at the federal and provincial level, that deal with the special circumstances associated with women, and have attempted to alleviate some of the incredible stress that has been felt. When we get through this crisis, the job doesn't end because the inequities still exist. We see that right across the board, and it is something that is top of mind here at the City of Vaughan, and we do the very best to be there for women. You know, the accelerator program, has basically 3 levels of express, ascend, and altitude, depending on the size of business. And I encourage you to tell the women entrepreneurs that you come in contact with, I know daily, to look at that program. It is one of many, and to also contact our economic development program coordinators that are there to help. We want to be present. We want to make a difference, and I know that we have, in many ways, made a difference. But this societal inequity is not going to be changed overnight. Every day in every way, we have to have incremental change. We have to focus on it, and it's not something that you can fix in a week. But we are certainly committed to do our part as a municipal government to really address the inequities that do exist in our society.
Following up on our discussion about supporting women entrepreneurs and businesses, so many young people lost their employment opportunities during COVID. What steps can the city and the chamber take together to create opportunities for the workplace of tomorrow, or the workforce of tomorrow, I should say?
Yeah, Brian, you probably know that I've been very active in advocating for young people for programs, particularly specifically at the federal level, through making sure that they can get through these difficult times. But there are many opportunities that we collectively together can work on. and from internship programs to involving as many businesses as possible in hiring our young people. We also can, as a city and as a chamber, promote the important role that universities play with young people. Now we have Niagara University. Potentially, in the future, we could also have a School of Medicine at York University at the hospital precinct. I'm saying this because these energies generate other opportunities. There are many, many spin-offs that occur when you engage with educational institutions, when you engage with the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, imagine the wisdom that lies within the Chamber of Commerce. You look at people that have been in the workforce for many, many years, that built exceptional businesses, and they share their wisdom with these young people who will benefit from the wisdom acquired over the years, and may I say, through the lessons that many business people here in the city of Vaughan have experienced. I am very confident that young people can be helped by a program that we could quickly establish between York University, Niagara University, Chamber of Commerce, Mackenzie Health, organizations like Venture Lab, and the city of Vaughan. There are many, many opportunities. As a matter of fact, this brings me back to my days when in the 1990s I wrote the youth employment strategy for the government, and back in the day, it was kind of new that you could actually find a job on the internet. You remember those days, Brian? I'm sure. I certainly do. But that was novelty, right? And I think that innovation that exists within the Chamber of Commerce and within the city of Vaughan can provide a lot of help for young people. I mean, during the crisis, I was really concerned about the lack of income and opportunities for young people, and whether it was at the GTA, GTHA mayors or region, or whether when I was talking to the Prime Minister and or the Premier and their cabinet ministers, I can tell you that women, young people were always part of the conversation, as were also people that have special abilities, people that sometimes could be forgotten. And the reason why I continuously talk about individuals who are maybe suffering alienation in our economy and or in our society is because I think that the role of government is also to take care of those who, through no fault of their own, are falling through cracks. So I think we have a challenge here, Brian, and I'd be very happy to continue this conversation. But as you probably know by now, it's not just conversations I'm interested in. I'm interested in getting results. And as mayor of the city of Vaughan, I'm very proud of the fact that we have a very healthy job market here in the city, that we're amongst the best in the country in economic growth, and that augurs well, of course, for young people. And I often say, if there's a place you want to live in this country, Vaughan is certainly a place where you should consider living, because it is indeed a city of opportunity.
Well, thanks for your comments on that, Mr. Mayor. And at the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, we'd be really pleased to take part in that kind of conversation and look to get some concrete action with our partners and with the city to support youth employment. Now, when we think about what's happened during COVID, City of Vaughan took a lot of proactive measures to support the continuity and recovery of the hardest hit sectors of our economy, very much thinking about tourism, hospitality. One of those measures that stand out to me the city took was the suspension of the municipal accommodation tax, the MAT tax. You referred to it earlier. That's tax for hotels. As hotels are still recovering, what are the city's plans to support the tourism and hospitality industry moving forward?
We have a lot of programs that speak to that. We have, we're working with Tourism Industry Association, Ontario to be accredited, designation of safe travel program. But I do want to talk a little bit about the incredible change we've seen when you look at July 2021. When you look at the increase year over year from 2020 to 2021, it's 101% on the occupancy rates. And these for hotels, and this is a very good sign. This is sort of a recovery that is taking place. We have the Vaughan Destination Master Plan that we're very proud of, where we promote tourism, and we also have, quite frankly, a city that has many key places to visit. Whether it's the McMichael Art Gallery, whether it's our incredible parks that we have, whether it's Vaughan Mills for those individuals who like to shop. We have many places that are a real attraction, and beautiful places like Kleinburg and all the towns within the city of Vaughan offer a very unique experience. I live very close to Canada's Wonderland, and I see people from all over the province and outside our country come to places like Canada's Wonderland. But there's much more than we can do, and I think the Vaughan Metropolitan Centre is also going to open up many opportunities for festivals. Our North Maple Regional Park will become also a tourist destination because that park will become, in coming years, a world-class park where people will come just to spend the day there and to visit. And we make special efforts, whether it's festivals that we promote, particularly, as I said earlier, the Vaughan Metropolitan Centre. We attracted the 2020 National Soccer Championship, and we also have Road Hockey to Conquer, and we have marketing campaigns in our city with impressions of 1.7 million. So we're doing all that we can to tell the Vaughan story. And remember that, we have a city where 105 different languages are spoken, where we have restaurants from representing the entire globe. And I know many people from outside our city who come and visit us because of the great culinary experiences that they're having here in the city of Vaughan. And I'm mentioning just a few things. You probably know how many national tournaments, sports tournaments we've had here in the city, from baseball, softball, and many others. I'm very optimistic about tourism here, and the more amenities we build and the more we get our message out, the more people will come, and we will continue to see the great improvement in occupancy rates of hotels. I'm going to restate it, that there's been 101% increase, and that augurs well for our city.
Our next question comes to us from Luigi Nally. He's the president of Pinpoint Health. Let's go to Luigi's question.
Hi, I'm Luigi Nally, and I'm the president of Pinpoint Health. Mayor Bevilacqua, during the COVID-19 pandemic, many retailers struggled and were even forced to close. What would you tell them today?
Well, first of all, I would express to them my gratitude for the exceptional manner in which they've handled this crisis. Retailers, like many other business people here in the city of Vaughan, are individuals who are resilient, individuals who truly believe in their businesses and also in the great service they provide our residents. I think that it's been a very difficult time. That is the reason why I've always tried to achieved positive results when it came to government subsidies from the federal and provincial government and our own government. That is the reason why we implemented certain measures to provide them with relief when it came in many areas. Retailers have been challenged, but I do think that there are reasons to be hopeful. The disciplined approach that we took throughout the global pandemic, our very responsible way to deal with vaccination, our responsible way to have our retailers and shoppers adhere to the rules and regulations of COVID-19, I can tell you we're exemplary. And throughout our lives as individuals and our businesses are going to be dark times. But one thing that I've learned in life that has been proven true to me throughout my 61 years of life here on earth is that desolation is always followed by consolation. There are always better days ahead. And what gives me strength as the mayor of the city of Vaughan is that these retailers are bouncing back. They are seeking opportunities. They were able to pivot during the pandemic, and they continue to be very vigilant, responsible. And what I can say, Luigi, is that I've been extremely, extremely impressed by the refinement of this of this group of individuals who have really represented the very best of what citizenship here in the city of Vaughan has been. Yes, there have been some programs that we've tried to help with, and in some cases successfully. But during a crisis, there's always a group of individuals who, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, fall through the cracks. And in some instances, as you correctly pointed out, it was retailers. But you can rest assured that I've given my best effort, and council has given its best effort as well to provide the type of support that is required during the challenging times that we have faced and are presently facing. But I do think that I see a light at the end of the tunnel. I also see that they are resourceful, they are ready for a comeback, and that they're very resilient. And that to me is fundamental in city building. Look, throughout human history, we always have examples, whether it's an economic downturn, whether it's a war. And I tell you, COVID-19 resembles a war. And the great thing about our city is that we didn't have too many defectors. We stuck together, and the retailers did as well. And while I felt their pain, because it's very hard to see businesses close, I also saw the incredible resilient spirit of these retailers. And as I speak to them today, I can tell you they're much more hopeful than they were a few months ago. I thank you for the question.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciated your comments just now about supporting retailers, and also I should give a shout out to the work we're doing with economic development at the city and Tourism Vaughan on our Support Vaughan Local campaign. Many retailers, restaurants, tourism entities can participate in that program. I mentioned it at the intro to try and drive local spend and awareness of businesses. So if you are interested in more information, we're doing videos and other promotional aspects. You check out the Vaughan Chamber website. Now, I have a personal question for the mayor. You were a longtime federal member of parliament before you assumed the role of Vaughan's mayor. I'd love for you to tell the audience the difference between being a representative at the local level versus the federal level.
Well, it's a very interesting question. I spent 22 years in Ottawa, and this is my 11th year as mayor. And I can tell you that at the end of the day, it's, let me give you an analogy. The panoramic view is always best seen at the mountaintop. But as we all know, life is played in the valley. That's where life happens. And what I mean by that is that ultimately all politics is local. I mean, I had the good fortune to represent Canada abroad. Was able to be Minister of State for Finance, Minister of State for Science, Research and Development. I chaired the Finance Committee. I was able to contribute to writing the youth employment strategy. I was employment critic during a time that unemployment was a major issue. That gave me a broader view of the country. But people live in communities. People live in cities. That's where they, run their businesses, grow their family. This is where they establish themselves. And I do think that municipal politics is much more hands-on, and you have the levers to also make sure that things get done. And so as I think about my 11 years as mayor, and I look at the subway coming to Vaughan and North Maple Regional Park and University and building a transit system and all that, it's very tangible. You see it. Having said that, the federal government plays a key role, as we also have learned through COVID-19, their financial contribution to COVID-19, the injection of liquidity into the economy, and helping businesses and individual and institutions plays a very important role. So
we have a question from Anthony Ambrosino. He's the president of St. Andrews Insurance Brokers. Let's roll that question.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. My name is Anthony Ambrosino. I'm the president here at St. Andrews Insurance Brokers. It's a pleasure to take part in this event. I had to make a lot of difficult decisions during COVID for my company. I was wondering, during COVID, as the mayor of Vaughan, what gave you the sense you were making the right decisions?
Anthony, thank you so much for the question. I just want to tell you that in life, as also being a mayor, you have to have clarity of purpose. You have to use the best available information, and you also have to trust your intuition. I'm a very intuitive person, and the reason why I feel that I make the right decisions is because I do all the due diligence that I need to do. I analyze the issue, I seek advice, and then I trust myself. And you could only trust people's opinion if you trust yourself. And that is extremely, extremely important. And that comes really also from many years of experience. There's no question about the fact that we all make mistakes. That is called experience. But at a certain age, you've seen, as I say, you've seen a lot of the videos before. You've seen a lot of the challenges before. You begin to recognize a certain pattern of how things evolve. And past experiences give you that ability to act and react to circumstances as they arise. But a lot of it has to do with your conviction that you have, in fact, the ability and the inner strength to make the right decisions.
Vaughan is a very multicultural and multilingual community, but we've seen a noticeable spike in discrimination throughout the GTA. What actions can our city take to address this issue?
I can tell you that just recently I participated in the National Summit on Islamophobia as well as anti-Semitism. And as chair of the Police Services Board, we are seized with this every day in every way. But you need to, like I said a few questions ago in my response, this is something that you don't do over a week. You've got to work at it every single day. And you've got to take steps like adopting the Vaughan Inclusion Charter, like making sure that people are included in the consultation and engagement of our diversity task force, making sure that you're present, making sure that you act and react. I mean, that you clearly state what your opinion is as a leader of a city. You need to make people understand exactly where you stand. And I've done that throughout the past 11 years here in Vaughan, but even prior to that, in Ottawa, you probably may remember this, but I've been a big champion of diversity. I was perhaps the only one in Ottawa who called for doubling of immigration. And that speaks to my spirit of embracing diversity and providing opportunities in a country that needs to grow, needs more population. Our country is, quite frankly, very large geographically, but we can, in fact, use more people. And you know, Brian, if you talk to your members who are running companies, they will tell you that one of the biggest challenges they have is labor force. And 100% of Canada's labor force growth is coming from immigration. And I think that a pluralistic and diverse society is the best way to proceed, because at any point in time in which you have the opportunity to create a global reality within a country and benefiting from the best of what each group has to offer, you're going to benefit from that. Now, having said that, I do think that when I hear about anti-Black racism and anti-Semitism and discrimination against gays, lesbians, and every other group in society that unfortunately feels excluded, we need to stand up for it. And, you know, back in the day when same-sex marriage was a big issue, and 75% of my writing was against it, I obviously voted in favor. I'm a big believer in human rights. I remember when the Ahmadiyya community was under attack, one of my first interventions in the House of Commons was to make sure that they were protected, that the federal government back in the day should not tolerate this type of anti-Muslim behavior nationally and internationally. And there have been many, many examples throughout my life where I stood up for people who were who had no voice and were voiceless. And I believe that a society needs to be fair and just. And this is also the same philosophy and the same action plan that I promote here in the city. And that's why I dedicate a lot of time in the various roles that I play. You may know this about me, but I sit on a number of boards, and I was sitting on a board where, for example, women were way underrepresented. And out of 3 appointments, council and our holding company appointed 2 women out of 3. That's what you call leadership. It's not just delivering speeches about it. You have to be there for them. And when groups that require even funding, that are organizations that do not have access to funding, as you know, I always step up to make sure that nobody's denied an opportunity. I do that with my support of things like the Rec Assist program at the city. I do that with a number of organizations through my Spirit of Generosity fund initiative, I should say. And we've helped over 250 people, 250 organizations, I should say. And this is very much in keeping with my belief that an enlightened society is a fair and just society for everyone.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for that response. You've been very strong on issues of discrimination, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Black racism. And I not only appreciate that leadership, but we need more leaders like that throughout society calling out those behaviors and taking concrete actions to prevent them from happening moving forward. As you alluded to, the best societies are ones where we all work together and there's a place for everyone. So I want to go to the next question, which seems to relate very well because it's about mental health support. So supporting, again, the community. This question comes from Susan Lampert, a psychologist at Boomerang Health, a sick kids clinic in Vaughan.
Hello, I'm Dr. Susan Lambert, psychologist and program manager at Boomerang Health, Sick Kids Clinic in Vaughan. We've all seen the mental health impact on children and youth as a result of COVID-19. Are there funding opportunities that are currently being planned for families to access and utilize towards mental health services? Thanks.
Susan, thank you so much for the question. And there's no question about the fact, indeed, that mental health is a key issue here in York Region, and I would say throughout our country. These have been very challenging times. People have been displaced. People are in circumstances and situations, quite frankly, that has generated a lot of mental stress, if not physical and psychological. You know that this is an area that Dr. Karim Kurji was very aware of and spoke a great deal about, and York Region is doing its very best to provide programming to speak to the reality that you've outlined in a very eloquent way. As well, you probably know that here in York Region, we actually have a minister, Minister Tabolo, who is a member of the provincial government, who's dedicating a lot of time to this particular issue. And of course, the provincial government really has a responsibility to make sure that funding is available. I do believe that not only is the present situation quite challenging, I also believe that post-COVID, we will begin to see the effects of COVID itself. Sometimes, as you would know, the impact on people's mental health is not felt immediately, but it's felt after the fact. And which means to me that it's not just a question of getting through COVID, it's a question of making sure that we have a follow-up system that takes care of our people. In your line of work, you know that financial resources are extremely important. And I think that more resources are required, and I'm very hopeful that the provincial government will augment the amount of resources that are dedicated to mental health, because I do believe that they recognize that this is a very serious situation. A situation that may not be visible to people, but it's certainly felt within the homes, within the workplace, and everywhere.
After a decade-long journey, Cortellucci Vaughan Hospital opened its doors in June 2021. This was a significant city-building initiative for you as chair of Mackenzie Health's Ultimate campaign, and for the entire extended group, everyone involved in Mackenzie Health Hospital and its creation coming to fruition. Can you tell us about the project and its impact on the community?
Brian, this is a very important question that you ask about the Cortellucci Vaughan Hospital and Mackenzie Health, the network. It's been a project that has been very close to my heart. This was one of the first files that I looked at when I became mayor. It obviously had some challenges at the beginning that needed to be ironed out, not only related to the land, but also funding. And I dedicated a lot of my time to this particular project because generations upon generations of Vaughan citizens had been waiting for a breakthrough in this area to have their own hospital. We're the only city our size that did not have a hospital. But in this case, I think that the community goodwill, patience by many, many people involved in the process, we were able to overcome the early challenges. And so today we have a 1.2 million square foot facility, world-class, generating over 1,000 jobs. We have up to potentially 550 beds. We have areas that are very important, like inpatient integrated stroke unit, the inpatient mental health program, and we were talking about mental health earlier. We're also doing something that is very exciting, and what is exciting is the hospital precinct. The 82 acres, and we used a first hospital approach, which means hospital first, and then we will take care of how we utilize the remaining parcel of land. As chair of the $250 million ultimate campaign, I can tell you that it's been challenging, but it's brought a lot of joy to see so many people help out, so many people give of themselves in a very selfless way. And now we're in a position where I can announce that we've raised $206 million out of the 250. And I remember when we started literally at zero, how tough the campaign was. But I do think that above and beyond the great healthcare, it's a great story to tell about our community, how perseverance, dedication, commitment really pays off at the end, that people can in fact work together towards the common good. And I can tell you that Altaf Stationwell and his team are getting great reviews. I mean, listen, we were called by history. The history of our city and COVID-19 was a very challenging time for the province, and we had to answer the call of history. And that's why on February 2021, we became what colloquially we would refer to as a COVID-19 hospital, to release the stress and pressure that the province of Ontario's healthcare system was facing. And so we did that, and we did exceptionally well. And we've been praised, as a matter of fact, recently in the speech from the throne, the Cortolucci Vaughan Hospital was mentioned as an example of excellence in healthcare, and how these investments have paid off during this crisis. And then, of course, on June 6, 2021, we opened officially the hospital, and it's been a great city building initiative. It's really, in many ways, it's not just the physical structure that is beautiful, but the story behind the hospital, how we were able to cooperate and collaborate, how people put aside differences for the greater good. And it's one of the highlights, really, of my years as mayor, to have witnessed this incredible capacity of the citizens of Vaughan and various groups and organizations to come together and build something that is truly world-class. And
now we're going to go to a question from Maria Castro, CFO, PICO Group of Companies, and their active Vaughan Chamber members. We appreciate the question.
Hi, I'm Maria Castro with PICO Engineering and proud resident of Vaughan. My question to the mayor is, given the urgency globally to mobilize climate action, what plans and steps is the City of Vaughan contemplating?
You probably know that we have a very comprehensive and holistic approach to the environment through our green directions. You also know that we have 230 kilometers of cycling and pedestrian routes. We dedicate ourselves also to planting many trees, like over 30,000 trees. We declared a climate change emergency in principle to protect our community, and also we dedicate a lot of time protecting birds and bees and bats and other species that are under attack. We also invest a lot of time in education, and actions like signing up for the National Wildlife Federation Mayor's Monarch Pledge. These are actions that speak to our commitment to the environment and green spaces and climate change, and we always advocate for conservation. And another example that we've spoken about often today is the incredible park, 900 acres, North Maple Regional Park is an example of how much we value green spaces. We are definitely committed. I mean, I just give you very practical examples. We even on LED lights, we've been able to reduce consumption. We do the very best that we can to make sure that the environment is first and foremost in our mind, because quite frankly, you can get a lot of things right when building a city, but if you have pollution, if you have increasing greenhouse emissions, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and you're not protecting future generations. And it's a route and a road, I should say, that you don't want to go down. You want to be able to take measures that address the climate change challenge that we, not only here in the city of Vaughan, but throughout our country and globally, are facing.
All right, so we've gone through a lot of questions, and I thought for our last question we'd do something a little fun and different. And you've been around in this community a long time, Mr. Mayor, so we wanted to ask you, what's your favorite Vaughan landmark and why?
Brian, that's a very interesting question, but I do want to address something here that, I can mention all sorts of landmarks. I can talk about, whether it's the McMichael Art Gallery, whether it's Canada's Wonderland, whether it's Boyd Park, whether it's the Courtright Centre, whether it's Vaughan Mills, all these things that everybody talks about, whether it's our Vaughan Metropolitan Centre. But for me, it's not a landmark. What I really love about my city is something that is not necessarily physical in nature. What I love about my city, it's a spirit. The people, how people interact, how loving and how caring they are, how they're able to resolve differences always for the common good, how they're there for each other, how they believe fundamentally that their role in society is to improve the human condition, how they roll up their sleeves to help those who are falling through the cracks. So is it a physical landmark? No, it's not. It's a spiritual landmark. It's the gathering of all this positive energy that exists within our people.
Well, I appreciated that answer, and a number of the members of our team lost their bets there because we were trying to figure out which landmark you'd pick. But I did notice you named a few of the big tourism entities in Vaughan at the beginning too, so that was a great answer and a great summary of the spirit of Vaughan and the great people and the great businesses that coexist in this community. So that concludes our annual Mayor's event. On behalf of the Vaughan Chamber Board and the staff team, I want to thank all 400 of you for participating with us here today. Special thanks, of course, to the Honorable Mayor Mauricio Bevilacqua for being here with us today, for his continued leadership of the city, and for answering all our questions in our fireside chat. We really peppered you with a lot of questions from the community. I appreciated you taking all of them and such thoughtful answers. A quick shout out again to our presenting sponsor, Fazari & Partners, LLP. Thank you, Frank and team. And our platinum sponsor, CN. Thank you, Daniel and team. Of course, a special note of thanks to the entire Vaughan Chamber of Commerce events team, led by Jennifer Rashty, for putting on another great event. It's really been a tremendous team effort, which, by the way, wouldn't be possible without all the behind-the-scenes work of Render Media. Thank you. We hope to see you all soon at our Women's Symposium in late November, our CEO Speaker Series on October 28th featuring Mastermind Toys CEO Sarah Jordan, and the Small Business Week kickoff by the Vaughan Chamber in partnership with the City of Vaughan's Economic Development and Cultural Department on October 18th. Of note, on that date, we're putting a special focus on COVID-related employment issues with Minkin Employment Lawyers. And of course, we're all eagerly anticipating the March 2022 Business Achievement Awards. Award nominations close very soon on October 12th. Once again, thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Schiffman, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all at a future event or activity with us. Have a great afternoon, everyone.